Hey, what's up guys? In this tutorial, we will be building a Todo application using Laravel and Jetstream. But in our case, we are going to be using InertiaJS with VueJS, of course. Okay, so this is what we are going to be building. So as you can see, we have a list of items to be done. Once you mark them, it will automatically jump to the end of the list. As you can see, boom, boom. Okay, so you can also add new items to the list. All right, so let's record a video. So you see, this is the item I just add now, and you can also edit them, record a song. Okay, you can also delete the items. So there, you should be able to notice something there. Once you change the state of the items on the list, there is a notification. For example, if you try to mark it as undone, you can see to do status change successfully. Even once you edit or delete or add new item, you should be able to get a notification. So those are the steps we are going to do in this tutorial. So the first thing we are going to do now is create a fresh Laravel application. So open your terminal and run Laravel new Laravel. So the name of the application, to do app. So that's going to no, that's not what we are doing. So let's remove this. Sorry. So this is what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to use Jetstream. So I want the installation procedure to use to include Jetstream. All right. So Laravel new, Laravel to do, then Jetstream. So I'm going to add the Jet flag. So that will include the Jetstream in the installation. You can see. So which Jetstream stack do you want to use? So you can opt in for Livewire or Inertia, but I want to use Inertia because of the VueJS that is there. So let's use Inertia. So that Inertia is going to pop in for VueJS automatically. So will your application use theme? No. So let me type that just to be sure. Okay, so the application is creating. Nice. Okay, so we can see the once you run npm run dev, it will show this. You can see this this information, but this is what we need, the app URL. So the reason why I can see this is because I install Valet. So if you want to be able to automatically see this, you need to install Valet too, or else you have to run PHP artisan serve and all. But since we have Valet, I have Valet installed on my machine, I can easily do that. So nice, very nice. So let's try to debug this as we are going. So the first issue we are having is that the app is finding it difficult to connect with the database. All right, access denied. So we have to configure the DB information. So to do that, let's stop this one. So we are just stopping the whole thing, and what I want to do now is try to open the code in my test editor. In my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so that's code Laravel to do app. So I'm trying to use Visual Studio Code to open the code, so we can see the code here. Now let's open the integrated terminal. The first thing we do now is try to run the npm run dev, just to keep the server running. So we are going to open a new tab. So we'll be running our commands here. Okay, the first command we want to run now is that, before we do that, let's configure the environment variable, the database. So my username is root and my password is root. That's the local configuration, and the database name is Laravel to do app. So before this tutorial, I created a database in my MySQL. I'm using MySQL for the configuration. Okay, so I created the database there, Laravel to do app. I created a new database. So you have to do that too before we start. So this is the name, exact name here. So I know that they will be the same. So you should be able to connect now. Nice. See, a table was not found. This table was not found, or view not found. So there's no table in the database if you refresh. So we have to run migration, right? Okay, so before we do that, I want us to create our to-do table first. So how do we do that? We create a model, PHP artisan make model to do, call it to do, and we add the migration flag so that it can automatically generate a migration file for us. So you see, model created successfully. So also a migration has been created too, so we can see the migration file here. So this is the migration file and the model file inside the model folder, to do file. So we just have to work with this table string to be string. Okay, so we enter the title, and we are going to need another one. We're going to need the status of the to do. We have to toggle between done and not done. So we can just use a normal integer for it, integer, and we call it status. So let's set the default should be 0. Okay, fine, timestamp is fine, and that is that. So let's run the migration. PHP artisan migrate. Nice. So if you refresh the database, you can see the tables there, and if you refresh the site too, very nice, the site is ready. The Jetstream automatically creates the login and registration for us. The authentication boilerplate is done for us, so you can register and log in. Since we have no account in the user table, there's no account, so let's create a new account for ourselves. Jane-do, let's call that Jane-do test. Let's say jane.do@gmail.com. So password is password, confirm. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, you want to see. Okay, so now the first thing we are going to do is let's create the to-do route. The dashboard is okay like this, so let's create a different route for to-dos. So go to our code. If you want to create a route, we're going to need a route in the route folder, the web folder, the web file, web route. All right, and then you are going to need a controller to handle the route. So that's what we are going to do. The first thing we are going to do is create a controller. So let's try to create a controller first. Before we artisan make controller. So what's the name of the controller? To do controller. That's all. Yeah. Controllers, to do controller. Very nice. So this is dashboard. You want it to be /to do instead of dashboard. Okay, so let's create the function first. Okay. Call it to do's. So we won't be accepting any parameter. So it's going to return. So according to inertia, you just have to render an inertia, a VueJS or a JavaScript component. Okay, so inertia. So that's what we are doing here. Inertia. What this inertia does is render the JavaScript components. You have to create the components first, so we are going to do the component creating for now. So the name of the component will be to do. Okay, so it's very simple. You just render a component. I'll show you how to create the component now. So this is showing an error. We have to import inertia. So use inertia /inertia. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so let's go to our web route, the web route, web. So we go to route, web. Okay, so we can see the default one. It's just this. Don't let this confuse you. all you have here from here to here is just middleware, and this is a group. So that means this middleware is kind of protecting the route inside the group. It's not that confusing. Okay, so this is a dashboard route. Okay, so we just have to create our own route. So inside the protected group, I hope you understand. So that will be route. No, it's get. Okay, it's a get route. So get. The name is what? To-dos. That will be the path, and then we have to specify the controller and the function we are talking about. So our controller is what? To-do controller. So you see what I did here? My test editor automatically import it by itself. If yours doesn't do that, you have to type this manually. Use app then / get. So yes. And then we specify the function that handles it. As we said, to do. So what am I typing? To do is this function. Okay, so to do, and the name is what? To do's. So if you go to / to do's now, there will be an error because there is no, we haven't created the to do's component yet. Okay, so let's go to resources. What is resources, JavaScript, and pages. So inside the pages, you can see the dashboard page here. So we should just create our to do's page 2. Okay, so to do new file .view. So templates. Can you see? So this is the hello. But now what we want to do now is that to save our time, let's just copy what's inside the dashboard, because our to-do page is similar to what we have in the dashboard. Okay, so since we confirmed that the page is working, let's just copy it to save time. Okay, so Ctrl A, Ctrl C, and I hope that's not confusing. Okay, so you can see now we have to rename it. So we call it my to-dos. We don't need this welcome component. Which one? Hello. So we need the welcome component. Okay, you see my to-dos. Okay, so and the title should be what? To-dos. So that should reflect. You can see the title has changed. So we are trying to inherit the app layout in our to-dos, so speed up the development process. Okay, so now what we want to do now is that we want to be able to create a to-do. Okay, we want to be able to create a to-do. Okay, so how do we do that? We need a button. As you can see in the demo, there's a button here. Let's add that button. So it's kind of like a flex. So that block is, we have to add it in form of a flex, so that button. Nope. There's a button here inside the Jetstream automatically created for us. This button. Okay, so let's use it. Yeah, so that we won't be wasting our time. So let's import that button first. From where? Import. It will be from Jetstream. Okay, so import button from. So instead of writing the long part, you can just do slash jetstream button dot view. Okay. So that should work. Okay. So new to repeat button already has been declared. See, it automatically imports it for me, but I don't want to do that. So it's trying to import it again. That's already been imported. So we want this button to be here. It's just a simple tailwind code. Okay, so just add flex to it like that. So jump to the other side. I want it to come here. So justify between. Jump here. Thank you. We need an action. Okay, so first, just to be sure, we need to specify the type. The type of the button is going to be what? Just like a normal HTML button. Okay, so we need to do so v on click. Once you click the button, what should happen? You should do what? Add to do. Thank you. Okay, so that means we have to create a function here that does what? That adds to do. Doesn't accept any parameter. Just a simple function, not that complicated. Okay, so add to do. So const. Now we want to, you see, when you notice when I tested the application in the beginning, there is a prompt. I used prompt. I didn't want to waste our time building models, so if you use prompt, that would be faster. Okay, so we are going to use prompt for it. It's a normal, simple JavaScript prompt. Prompt is going to say what? Enter the to do title. Okay, so let's create a new function that handles the to do action. So const submit to do. So that is going to accept what? Title. So that will just continue the whole thing. Okay, so we are going to use that to do here. So submit to do. As you can see here in the function, we need a title, so we just apply this title into it. Very simple. Okay, so let's continue working on our to do. So here we are going to use so let's set up the form data. So form data, what? Title. So what's title? Title is equal to title. Okay, so as shows, there's another way you can write this, but I'll come back to that. I'm just doing this so in case of people that are just starting with JavaScript. Okay, so that you can catch up. Okay, so ashes, I'm going to use ashes here. So I have to mention that I'm using ashes, but luckily for us, Laravel has installed ashes for us. You can see dependencies, ashes. So it has been installed already, so we don't have to install ashes again. So we just have to import it here. Thank you. Import ashes from ashes. If your text editor doesn't do that, you know what to do. Okay, so post the we are submitting a data. We are submitting data. So that will be what? A post request. Okay, so the endpoint will be what? To do's, and it will take what? The form data. After that is done, then we get a response. The response, let's just console.log the response. Okay, just for now, response.data. Okay, so catch. What if there is an error? So let's console log to console.log the error, just to error.response. Very nice, very nice. Now let's see our button if it's actually working. Okay, nice. But now our endpoint is not working yet. We've not created the endpoint, as you can see in the web here. So there's no endpoint that does that. So we have to create a post endpoint here. So that will be route. Let's just duplicate this. Sorry. So I just duplicate the get one. Okay. So I change it to post, and this will handle the post. Now what are we going to call the method that handles the endpoint? We call it store, because we are storing new data, new to do. I'll call this to do's dot store. So let's handle the store on the end, other end here. So that will be function. We call it what? Store. Okay, don't accept any parameter. Nice. Okay, so to continue, we are going to first we want to validate our input. Validator. What is this? Validator. Nope, not .env. I will mention where the validator is coming from, but definitely not. Okay, so validator make. Now we are going to check for all the requests or so supply for what we want to check for. We want to check for the title data. Remember, we are sending the title from here. So the controller is going to accept the title here, and we are going to check the content of the title. Okay, it is required, and it has to be string. The maximum should be what? 500, which is really long, but that depends on what you want to do. Okay, so let's check if the validator fails. If the validator fails, so I want to make sure it's on a single line. So just return what? Return response JSON. I really hope this code is not confusing. So if you want to write if on a single line, you can break it into a block, but you can also write it in a single line. So just check if it fails, since that's the only thing we are checking for. So there's no need to write on multiple lines. So return response JSON and validator. Get the errors from that validator, and I want to see the first error. So bad input. Okay, error 400. Now validator is popping up error. So let's import the validator from illuminate not code support and validator. Very nice. The error is gone. Okay, so let's continue. Since we validated our input, we are good to go. So let's create a new to do create. So you are wondering where is that to do coming from? Okay, so I'm coming. One moment. So it's going to accept all the requests. Yes, all the requests. Now this to do is a model, so you know what model does, just like an entity. Okay, so we want to create a new entity. So that's our model that we created earlier when we created a new model and we run the migration. Okay, so we just have to import that model, use app models. So to do, very nice. So that to do is available here now. To do create. So the tricky part here is that if you are using this method, you have to specify the fillables, the fillables in a to-do model. Okay, the fillables, what you can fill. Okay, protected, so it will be protected fillable. It's just an array of the columns that can actually fill. If you don't specify those columns here, they won't be added in the database. So we want to be able to fill the title. So that for now, we're still going to fill more, but that's what we need for now. Return response JSON. So the response should be a message. The message should be what? To do added successfully. Nice. So refresh. Okay. Do the dishes. Let's check the console. Say to do added successfully. So let's check the database, the to-dos table. So you can see the to-do here. The status is 0 and nice. Very nice. Let's add 2 more to-dos. Pack my bags. More. Okay, sweep the floor. Okay, so we should be able to see those. Yes, you can see pack my bags to the floor. These are the to-do I just added now. So the issue we are having now is that we want to be able to see them here. Okay, so let's go back to our controller. Controller will be the one to make the data available in the front end. So that means we have to supply it here. Okay, so it's very simple. Okay, so just supply the to-dos here, just like sending data from the controller to the view. This also work like the played version too. Okay, so to do, since we already have to do here, so to do the oldest to do, I want us to sort the status. That's why I do that. Okay, the test and get. So that will make sure that the status, the one that has been done, that has been marked as done, will be at the bottom. Okay, so the one that is 0 to be at the top, and that should make the list of to-dos available in our view, which is also our view. That was very terrible. That was a terrible joke. Okay, so yeah, we want a list. Okay, so we need this. The width should be, let's make it 2 Excel or Todo. That is fine. And we don't need this. Just need a fresh div. So that div will do what? So v4, well, we want to look through the list of to-dos. Okay, so to do in just a normal simple VueJS loop. Okay, but this is a tricky part. We are trying to get the to-dos from the props. So what the controller does is send the list of to-dos in form of props. Okay, just like passing props from one component to another. So this is exactly what that does too. Okay, so we are going to specify the key. Okay, so you have to specify the key. Okay, so since I've already, it's a loop, so that means the key will be available in each. Okay, so that's the key. So that's what I did here. And the to-do is going to do what? The to-do, we are just going to get the title of the to-do. The title. Okay, so that's the title. So we can see the to-dos here. So what we need now is create a fresh component. So let's create a new component. Okay, so component inside the JavaScript folder, the JS, create a new folder, call it components, create another folder, call it to-dos. So we know that these components are for to-dos. So create a new one, say each to-do dot view. Okay, so it's just a simple code. Okay, so we just have to set up the script, right? We have the script. Okay, let's say we have the script. So the script is set up just like the normal. I think this is the latest way you can actually do the code, and we have the template side, like writing the script at the top. Okay, so since we have this, we can just, since we have this script now, we can just import it here, each to do. But let's import it from the top. So we just have to import the each to do from the component. Okay, so import each to do from where, just like the way we did the Jetstream part. So we can just do /components /to-dos /each to do. Nice. So just have the each to do here. So let's see if, okay, it's not trying to import it again for me, so we are safe. Okay, so instead of having it on the div, let's just have it on inside that to do. I hope you are not confused. Okay, so remove the whole thing here. So we are going to pass the to do in form of a props. Okay, so to do, so this is how you pass the prop. So you're going to have the to do. So once you have that, you can actually get the props from inside the to do component. So how do we do that? We get we have const props. So this is how you get the props. Define props. So you define the props. So we are waiting for it to do. So that is the to do is what? An object. Okay. I hope you understand why the to do is an object. Okay, so here we're just going to have a div, and that div is going to do what? The div is going to get the to do. So since the to do is available inside the props here, so we can just call the to do dot title. Yeah, something is definitely wrong. Fail to fetch dynamic imported to do. We have the to do, we have the dynamically imported would do. So let's import define props then. So import into, okay, from view define props. Okay, that should work. Okay, it's still not working. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, components, you have to do's, you have each to do, then each to do. Let's check this out first, see where the issue is. Not that. and okay, so it has to do with the import that we did. So let's see why the issue is happening. Import to do view. Oh, you have to specify the extension. Okay, dot view, you have to specify that. That's very important. Okay, so you should use that. Okay, so okay, so we can see now we are using the element, we are using the component, I mean, and we pass the to do inside it, and we can see the component here. Okay, so that means you are good to go. So the next thing we do now is try to add some, some CSS into it to make it interesting to see. So let's wrap it inside the div. Just some basic tailwind code. We are using tailwind for it, so bd white shadow, give it some little shadow to make it pop, and we have plenty small, large, rounded large. Okay, so that means on the big string should be the border radius should be round. So this I won't be explaining what of it because this is not the cost for tailwind. Okay, so if you want me to drop the cost for tailwind, try to make a request in the comment section. Okay, so items center to arrange everything, and cursor pointer, and justify between. What am I doing? Justify between. Okay, so this is not what we are expecting. So let's continue. So yeah, in the to do, we want it to be center, to jump into the center. Okay. Something is dropped somewhere. So the maximum width should be, sorry, but before we start, okay, so why is maximum width not working? Okay, so what I did was restart the whole thing. So the max width is not working, so I had to restart, run the npm start again. So I noticed there's an issue here. Define props is a compiler macro, no longer need to be imported. So that's my bad. So okay, so I've removed that. Now we're all good now. Okay, so so you can see that everything is going just fine, and let's go to each to do. So the first thing we are going to do is add a checkbox in it. So checkbox input okay, so the view model should be what? We are going to specify the view model, just the regular view code. That will help us to manage the value of the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to have the value. So the value will be what? The state, that will be status 2. So we are going to define the status now. We say it should be complaining that it should be complaining about the status, but don't worry about that now. So type is what? Checkbox. Checkbox. And name should be what? Status. So that should be the name of the input. So let's specify the class, just some basic Tailwind code. So margin right should be 4. First MD code 600 PG code 100 border also indigo, so 500 focus. Okay, so you can see it now. So once okay, so we want this checkbox to be by size, so that would be what? Flex. Class flex. So that should make it nice. So it should equally be on the same line. Times center. So I'm just mentioning this point so that people that are just coming into Tailwind can grasp first time. Okay, so that is that. And since we have input here, now I want to do it in such a way that once we click this, we should toggle the input. So that means we are going to specify the status. We are going to specify the status. So the first thing we are going to do is do what? Import ref. We are going to need ref and specify the status. Const status that we are going to use in the V model. Ref. We are going to use our ref. Now in that ref, we are going to set ref requires just like ref requires an initial state. Okay, so maybe the initial state of the status is true. Okay, so that's the initial state. Now the initial state is that we want here, because it's each to do, so we want the initial state of each of them. If they are true, it should be true. If they are false, it should be false. So that means we are going to get from the to do. So how do we get the to do? From these props. So that will be props to do the status. If it is 1, okay, it should be true. If it is 0, it should be false. So they are all 1 apparently. Okay, so now let's create a toggle effect. You can toggle the inputs. Just a function, a simple function. Okay, so the status dot value, this status is just a simple code. So that is status should be what? Not the status. You know how toggle works now. It should be opposite of what you already have. Okay, so you just add that to the whole thing, each component. So maybe on click. Nice. Can you see that? So anywhere I click here, it will be toggling the whole thing. And yeah, I want to make it in such a way that I won't be able to select like this. I don't want to be able to select. So just a simple code. select, no, like that. So I can't select it again. Okay, so I need the other thing. Okay, let's change the status. Let's work on changing the status first. Okay, so change status. Let's work on changing the status. We have to create a function. We call it what? Change status. So that we are going to do that in the to-do file. Const change status. So we're going to change, the function is going to do what? It's going to accept two things. The function is going to accept ID and status. So it's going to be like this. Alright. So I said I will talk about this the other time. That you can do it like this. Instead of repeating it twice, you can just do this. Just the same, it means the same thing. Okay. So let's test that if that works. See, it works. So you can just, instead of repeating it twice, so we are going to do the same thing here. Const form data. So ID and what? Status. Very simple. So you don't have to repeat the object again. So we are going to need ashes. So let's just copy it and paste. Okay, so ashes will be pointing, we'll be using, the endpoint we'll be using is what? To do slash status. And we supply the form data, and if it all goes well, it should return what? It should print the response here. If there is an error, it should show the error. Okay, so this status, we are not using it here, we need it inside each to do. So we supply it here, each to do. So we supply it in form of what? Props. So here we come into where we define the props. So we need that change status. The status is what? That prop is what? Function. It's a function, sorry, function. Okay, so we can easily use that function here once we toggle, just like what? So it's a props, it's a prop, and change status. So that change status accepts what? It accepts ID and value, the title. Okay, so what's the ID of the each to do? We have to get this one from where? Props to do ID. So that's the ID of that to do, and to get the value, the current value of that input. Okay, so that status dot value. Now we notice that we've not worked on to do slash. So you notice we've not worked on the endpoint status slash to do. So we have to define that in our web route. Okay, so status is a post to post, a slash status to do slash status. I mean, okay, so the endpoint, the method that handles it is what? Change status. We should call it change status, and let's just call it to do status. So let's work on the method, this change status method. Yeah, no, the to do controller. Sorry. Okay, so we are going to need validator. That is very sure. So, and to verify it. So so we are going to need the validator. So you just copy the validator down here just like that, and since on the front end here we are supplying what, the ID and to do, so we have to check if both are available. So we check for the ID is required and it's integer. So we don't have to specify the max. Okay, so the status, we're going to need the status too. So should be required, should be boolean. Okay, so let's just leave it like that. Required bool. Okay, so now let's try to update the status of that that to do. So we're going to, from the to do model, so check for where the ID is equal to the ID that was supplied, ID, and just update it. Update request all. So what you're going to notice here is that we are updating what the user sent from the user end, but what the user is sending is status. Okay, but we've not added the status here in the model, so we need to add that into the fillables. Okay, so that we can make the status fillable too. I hope you understand that. Please don't miss the okay, so we are going to response JSON to do status changed successfully. Okay, so that's all. So let's try to test it. So we've changed the status of this, so let's check the database. Maybe it's changed. The status is not changed, so let's see the error. Okay, prop status change status is not a function. And so that is our to do, each to do. So prop is trying to call this change status. Okay, so change status inside the each to do. Okay, so this, since we've supplied so this is the change status, right? Okay, so we are trying to send this change status here, this as a props, and then we pass it as props, and that means it should be available here. Function change status, but it's not working, so it should work. It's not working. Props change status now. Let's stop this. Let's stop the npm run dev and run it again. Something is wrong. H to do. That H to do is not sending the change status. Oh, what are we doing? I had the change status props inside the button. It shouldn't be like that. Sorry, it should be inside each to do. To do status changed successfully. So if you refresh here, you should be able to see the status has changed. And even if you refresh it, you see the status has been marked as uh, done. Okay, so let's work on the edit and delete feature. So in the each to do, we're just going to have a div, and delete. Should be able to see that here. Okay, so let's just add some CSS to it. Flex space for next. So we on click, we on click. So I want you to stop propagation. I'll tell you why I'm doing that now. Whenever I'm clicking, if I click here, it will also mean that, okay, see, for example, if I'm clicking delete, but it's toggling this. But if I click edit, it's not affecting it. So that's the function of that stop propagation. Okay, so the same thing is applicable for the delete. So we don't want it to be affecting what is behind. So it depends on what you are developing. So this is just a test, a sample design. So 600, some hair, perfect. Okay, so we are going to need two functions: update to do and remove to do. So in our to do, let's create this function in the main to do, main component first. So we start with update to do. So we are going to start with update to do. So const update to do submit. So that's what we are going to call the function. So that update to do is going to accept the ID and the title. Okay, so it's going to accept form data just like this. So the form data is going to accept both the ID and title. Okay, so we're going to need hashes too. So let's just copy that. The codes are similar, so but the endpoint will be to do /update. Then supply the form data, and if everything is good, you know what to do. If everything has error, if there's an error there, then to do that. Okay, so the next one is delete to do. Delete to do. Okay, so that one only needs the ID, so you don't have to. So the same thing goes to that, but we only need hashes, and the hashes is what the request is delete. Please pay attention to that, and the endpoint is /to do/ the ID, but make sure you change this code to backticks. So you change to backtick so that the ID can work, and we don't need the form data. I hope it's all good now. Okay, so we don't need the form data, we just need the. So we are going to pass these two things into each to do. So I made the mistake, I passed it into the button the other time. So make sure we are passing it into the each to do. So update to do, pass it as props, and delete to do. Okay, so we are going to need both of them in each to do. So each to do, I'm going to specify that they are function This one too is a function. Okay, so they are both available in each to do. So how do you handle them in each to do? So we have the first one, const update to do. So const, just like the prompt we have the other time, title, it's got to prompt. So the title will be what? Update to do title, and the initial value of that prompt will be the title of the titles. I hope you understand. So how do we get that? We get it from the props, just like we get the ID and the status. Okay, so to do dot title, very simple. So after that, we're going to call, the update to do is expecting an ID and a title. So we have the title and we have the ID, so we are good to go. So we call that from what? From props. Update to do submit. I hope you understand. So we supply the ID, so that will be props dot to do's to do dot ID slash title. Okay. So we supply the title and we supply the ID of the current to do. So that is all for the update to do. And for the remove to do, const remove to do or delete to do, whatever you call it. I'm trying to make sure it's not the same as this, so that they won't be affecting each other. Okay. So that one is just going to ask that, are you sure you want to delete this? So we are going to use confirm. Are you sure? Should be in quotes. Are you sure you want to delete this? Okay, so we are just going to ask a question. So if that returns true, it will either return false or true. It depends if you cancel or you press OK. So if you press OK, that will return true, and that will give us access to that block. So we're just going to call the delete to do props from the props, and we supply what? Supply the ID. We remember that is expecting ID. So as easy as pie. So the update to do here is expecting this. So on click, if you click that button, you should do what? Update to do, and it shouldn't propagate. So that's why we have the stop there. And this you want to what? Delete, remove to do. And once you click on delete, it should remove to do. Now one thing you notice that is we haven't specified the endpoint in the web. So let's do that. It's up. So what we are going to do is duplicate this. Update slash update. Remember here is what? The update to do is slash update. The endpoint is slash update. And that would be what? Updates. The function is update. And then the name is to do dot update. Okay, so let's do for delete too. So let's just copy this. We call it delete slash to do slash ID. You notice here that here we just do to do slash ID. So that's how we do that. And the function is what? Delete. This one will be what? Delete. Or you should let's just remove the whole thing. Okay, so let's make the create the function that we need inside our controller. Okay, so we are going to create for the update function and delete. So before this, okay, let's do it here. Fun update. So that won't set any parameter. We know what to do. We are going to need the title to verify validate the title. Okay, and we are going to need to validate the ID too. Make sure the ID is all good. ID. So the ID is what? Integer. It must be integer. And just for the string, and you are good to go. So let's check if the validator fails. So that's what the line does to check. If there is an error, it will return the error. So just like normal update. So that will be to do, where the ID, just like we did when we were changing the status, where the ID is equal to request ID, then update. Once you, if there is any user like that, you should do what? You should update. So title request, the title should be what? Request title. We are only changing the title, so it's better to pick it out, point out that that is exactly what we want to update. Okay, so then return response JSON. So the message will be what? To updated successfully. Very nice. So let's work on delete too. Delete to do. So delete. So that is expecting what? Is expecting an ID. You check the route. There's an ID that is expecting it. So that ID will be in form of what? Parameter. So that's the ID. And to do, we are going to need to find the ID. To do, find ID, and if to do, then if the to do actually exists, you should do what? Delete it. So we should return a success message. So I copy from the success message from here to here. Okay, so success message deleted successfully, else error message to do not found. So that will be what? Error 404. I hope you understand. Okay, so that is that. So let's try to edit test. Let's change this one to this is an edit. Okay, so let's refresh. See, this is an edit. You get, and we can also delete. Let's see, deleted. So what we notice now is that once we are deleting or making changes, nothing happens. Okay, so we should be able to see the changes immediately. So in our to do, we are going to have something that handles something that happens, an action that happens after the submission of forms. The action is completed. Something happens that rounds up everything. So it's like maybe try to refresh the whole thing and reset the whole page. Okay, so let's create a function that, so it's like the finishing end, finish submit. So once a request is completed and the request is successful, so you are going to get a response, right? So that is that. So that we are now going to replace this with what? Res. So we call the finish submit here, and we supply the response. We get the response here as we need. Okay, so let's replace these two. Paste. So in our finish to do, we are going to do what? Like we are trying to move to the same page. So the inertia will refresh the whole page for us. So let's import inertia. Import inertia from InertiaJS. Okay, so we're just going to use the inertia here. Inertia.visit. We are just trying to visit the same page, so it won't refresh. It won't look like it's refreshing, but it's actually refreshed. The whole page is being refreshed, so no worries about that. Okay, so let me create a new to do here to be refreshed. Can you see? So if I mark this to do as done, you see it has jumped down, like it's sorting the marked, the done to do should be down, should be grouped at the end of the list. Okay, so you can see the one that hasn't been done at the top. So once you mark it as undone, it should go up. And so that's how it works. So so let's try to delete. Let's try to edit. Let me just start something, and you see it automatically shows. And if you delete too, it's gone. So you notice something in the demo that I showed. There is a notification here that is showing there. So let's try to. We are going to install a package for it. Vue toaster. So it's like a toast package. Okay. So let's go to So you just have to run npm install. You can use I or install. Get at main format / vue toaster. So okay, vue toaster added. Now let's go to app.js. So in the app.js, we are going to import the vue toaster here. We are going to use it as part of the app. So import toaster. The text editor automatically did that, not me. So you just make sure you type everything in. Okay, now down here, or anyway, just here. So use toaster. So we are using this toaster that we have here. So to make the toaster available in the whole app. Okay, so we are just what we are going to do now is try to import we are going to create a new toaster. Import create toaster from at the toaster. So the toaster is available here. So after we refresh the page, it should show a toast. Okay, so toaster, create toaster, and toaster, if you do not call the toaster dot success. So we now use the response dot data. So we should be able to get the data from the response. Another task, let's create a new task. Open the door. See, there's a new task, and we can see a notification message here. And let's delete. Let's change it to window. See, to do updated successfully. And if you delete it, to do deleted successfully. And if you marked as done, to do status change successfully. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's all we have to do for now. Okay, now I want to be able to add it here, so that I want the option in the menu here, so that I can navigate from one page to another. Okay, so go to layout, the app layout. So you go to where there's a list here, online 51, 50, 50 here. Just copy and paste it. So just copy the jet link, nav link. So we call it to-dos. So this will be what? To-dos. This will be to-dos. So you can easily navigate using the navigation bar. You can see my end the lecture. Let's see. So everything is just working just fine. So that's where we are going to end this tutorial. So if you have any question, try to drop it in the comment section below, and if there's any topic you want me to talk about, you can also drop that too. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.